tried.
There is one.
So thanks so much for coming. So originally it was like the net worth class is what we had on there, but I changed it to a Wealthier You because this is a class that I originally created for my team. I originally created it for the team just to kind of talk to, you know, it's great when you can make money, but what do? You made $50,000 last year and you're now still broke at the end of this year because you haven't been smart about your money, right? And in real estate, it's something that's really easy to do. So I put together this class to be able to say, let's make sure that the money that we're making, the money we're investing, and the time that we're spending, because in real estate, time is also a super valuable commodity, makes you wealthier. And so I'm going to share today my experiences with wealth, and I'm going to reference my husband, Eddie. So if you hear me say Eddie, it's my husband. He is mine, I'm his. And talk a lot about some of our experiences, but also what I've read and what I've learned. Because once you get into this world of financial literacy, you realize there's so much to learn, but you also realize that there are people that aren't afraid to talk about it. And I think a lot of times people are afraid to talk about wealth and are afraid to talk, well, okay, what are you doing with your money and how are you handling it that way? And I think especially as females, a lot of times people are nervous, like, oh, you talk about money? And it's like, heck yeah, we talk about money because we need to take care of ourselves and our families. And frankly, I joke, my husband will be so open. He goes, if I didn't have Mandy handling my finances, I would live in a ditch. And it's like, it just kind of goes against a lot of what people perceive in terms of how money is handled. So, we have a lot of funny stories, which I'll get into and share, but I'm excited for you to be here. So I'll share this too, you know, and I think this is kind of Keller Williams' model as well, but this is our team. One of the values that I hold is that I want our team members to be happier, healthier, and wealthier as a result of being in my world. And within Keller Williams, we want that too. We want you to feel happier, healthier, and wealthier as a result of being at KW. And I think a lot of times we talk about, you know, healthier, happier, but I want to make sure we're talking about wealthier too. And so that's why I made this. So some of the foundations. These are some of the books that I'm going to reference today. Okay. So these are like probably, I don't know, there's 5 and I probably have like 10 or 15 of my favorite money books. But some of the ones that I'm going to be referencing today, there's Psychology of Money, Retire Inspired, Infinite Game, Everyday Millionaires, and then Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover. So the foundations of wealth that I want to share with you on is how much wealth is personal, wealth is emotional, and wealth is a journey. And this comes a lot from this book, Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. And it just talks about how wealth is unique to you and so much about family history. Hang on, there's this, people do some crazy things with money, but no one is crazy. Here's the thing. People from different generations, raised by different parents, who earned different incomes and held different values in different parts of the world, born into different economies, experiencing different job markets with different incentives and different degrees of luck, learn very different lessons. Everyone has their own unique experience with how the world works, and what you've experienced is more compelling than what you learned in the second half. So all of us, you, me, everyone, go through life anchored to a set of views about how money works that vary widely from person to person. What seems crazy to you might make sense to me. Think of the person who grew up in poverty. He thinks about risk and reward differently than the child of a wealthy banker, right? And so as you guys are thinking about the foundations of wealth and it's unique to you, it's important for you to think about how you grew up, right? Like I grew up, my dad's a banker, my mom works at the school district, and I never thought that I was broke. I never thought I was rich. I was convinced I was broke, but I never lacked anything. If I wanted something, they would get it for me, but I never wanted anything because I felt guilty because I thought we were broke. Like I thought we just didn't have the money to be able to, we went back to school shopping, but my parents would give me $20 to go to the movies and I wouldn't spend it because I didn't want to spend my parents' money. I wanted to give the $20 back to them because I was convinced, because we never went out to dinner. Like if we went out to McDonald's, it was a treat. Like we always ate in, and I was convinced it was that way. So as I grew up, we were middle class, but I never thought we were middle class. Personal experiences, when we think about how how I handle my money growing up, in real estate particularly, I was terrified of not being able to pay my taxes. And so for me, the first year in real estate, every penny I had, I saved, because what if I can't pay my taxes? And my dad's a banker. So what that means is he saw everybody fail. He's seen a lot of realtors fail. I got in at 2010 when the market was horrible, and he saw a lot of people crash and burn. So he said, Mandy, whatever you do, save for your taxes. So my personal experience was, it's not my money yet. It's not my money until April. Has anyone ever felt that? With paying taxes, you're like terrified of spending money. So I experienced that. And then economic. The people handled COVID a little bit differently. Maybe are the people who've already been through, who were through the 2008 market crash. They were like, let's go. I've already done this before. Or they're like, I got burned. I need to get out before I get burned again. Wealth is emotional. Sometimes your motivation to earn. There's a lot of people who never had anything, and so they're super motivated to earn. Then there's other people maybe who feel that their worth is tied to what they accomplish, and that motivates them to earn. You think about how you spend money. Did you grow up in a family where when you go out, you just spend, and you go to Target and you get, mom's upset, so she goes and buys new clothes, or dad's upset, so he goes and buys another car. I have no idea. I'm just saying things. But you think about how you spend, how you invest, how you feel about money. And then also wealth is a journey, and thinking about it from a seasonal perspective is so important. I'm 34, and the way I handle money now is a lot differently than the way I handled money in my 20s. And it's going to probably be different than the way I handle it in my 40s, because when I was 20, it was, you save every penny. I don't need to go anywhere. I don't need to live anything. I'm good. Whereas now I'm in my 30s and I'm saying, hey, listen, I want to actually enjoy and make experiences with my family. And so I'm spending money a little bit differently. And when you're thinking about retirement, or, Tiffany Hilbert is such an awesome example. She is like, Mandy, I'm running my business differently now than you're running your business, because Tiffany's like, my kids are up and grown. Like, I'm in a different spot in my life. And I love that, it's something that we talk about. You can be in a different season and have your money differently. You can learn it. And you can have a partner in it. Like I said, my husband and I have been on the same page from the very beginning, which is a blessing. But if you're not on the same page with your partner, your significant other, or literally anyone who you have a partner with in your life regarding finances, you need to make sure that's a priority. Because if you guys are not in alignment, it's going to be harder to get to this wealthier you. So tell me a little bit about you guys. I want to start with. Give me a couple things that maybe you're hoping to learn today, or what piqued your interest about coming to a Wealthier You class today. Give me something.
Well, I mean, I'm always just trying to learn more about I guess what to spend my money on a lot of times, because I would say I'm more of like a penny pincher almost. I save every dime that I have so that I can go put it back into something, but I never actually put it back into anything.
That's my whole life. How old are you?
I'm 26.
Yeah.
And I'm doing well with that, but it's okay, I have to invest it back into myself. And I hear all these gurus and all these people that are invest in yourself, take the time to invest in yourself now, and then you can build yourself up. But where do I go with that?
Yes. Thank you, God. That's so good. So real and so good. What else? Anybody else?
Yes, something that's top of mind for me right now is more about passive income.
Yes.
I mean, time is money. I've got a newborn on the way.
What do you do? When are you due?
I thought you said, what do I do?
I'm here, Mandy.
November 10th.
Okay. All right.
So just in time for things to be slowing down a bit.
Yes.
But,
well done. Good planning.
I know, it actually wasn't worked out. So yeah, I guess, I mean, whether there's baby or not, no baby, where your time is best spent.
Yes.
And, there are some things that someone that might be starting a team might feel, I would like to hire. There's different, obviously there's a structure here at Keller of, how to hire. But I do find that I enjoy certain areas of real estate that I wouldn't necessarily want someone else to do. But I also wonder if that's smart to not do things. So.
Yes.
All those things.
Great. No, so good. So good. We're not getting too much into exactly passive, but I'm going to share a bunch of my stories too, so you can hear what I'm doing.
Oh, so I I have an investment property, so I'm a big, supporter of that.
Love.
I think the passive income is been very helpful for quite a while. I bought my first rental at 29 and I thought, wow, why don't more people do this? But so what I've been in real estate for about 6 years now back. I used to do it a while back. And so it's more like, well, wondering where should I invest in my business and myself to be more successful, because I'm actually doing less business this year than last year. And some of it has to do with buyers and sellers that just opted out of the market, because sellers are like, where am I gonna go next? And buyers are like, I'm burned out. We've lost so many homes and we just want to take a break. So it's stressful financially too.
Yes.
But when you have your passive income, you know that that's.
Oh my gosh,
there.
it's been wonderful.
So we're gonna talk a lot about what wealth means, and it's so much
Okay.
more than just what income you're having, but it's that peace of mind maybe that you experience from that. Anybody else?
So I took the Win, Make, Give podcast in 2020.
Yes, okay. I think
Love-
Fallon and they did, all the Property Girls did that too.
Okay.
Said it was
Did you
amazing.
do it?
I have not, no.
Oh my God. Love.
Would I love it?
Oh my
Fallon
God.
was like, you need to do it.
And so since then, the main thing that I utilized, they went through a lot of stuff, and actually I recommend anyone just go to Win, Make, Give. It's a podcast. So I took it, when I took it in July of 2020, it was live. They were doing it like it was in real time, like we get a podcast each week and we had a workbook, and you can download the workbook online. But they're all recorded, so you can just go back and do it. And there's a lot of other elements that I haven't, I need to focus, I need to now, look into more and work on, but doing it, I do my net worth statement every month.
Yeah.
And I love it. And my husband and I look at it together. He's not good at giving me pieces of information, his accounts that are online. I have to keep reminding him to,
Yeah,
I've got links. He's got.
so I just like break into all of his accounts.
Well,
My
I
husband
told him-
doesn't even know his own account.
Well, I finally said, I was like, if you're not gonna give these to me, you have to give me your password. So I
Yeah.
can just give, because
Uh-huh.
it's taking up real estate in my mind.
Uh-huh.
So,
I'm the same
and
way.
I'm hoping to learn some more new nuggets.
So you'll probably know a lot about what we're chatting about, but the net worth statement and all that, it's just powerful stuff that is, like you said, when you're keeping track of it, what you focus on expands. When you're keeping track of it, all of a sudden you're like, wait, this stuff works.
And one thing that, so we have rental property, and we're kind of at the end of our, if you get 30-year mortgages on your stuff, when you're in that last 10 years, you're making money. You've got, when your mortgages are paying down, more and more are going
More
to principal. You don't have any more money, but you have more net worth.
Yes.
And
It
that's
grows really
the cool
quickly.
thing to see. Unfortunately, it's like, oh, I've got to pay taxes on all this, and I don't have any money to show for it. But in the end, it's gonna be all good.
I love that. Does anyone have any thoughts about about wealth being personal, and if anybody has like a money story that they want to share about what their wealth looks like in terms of your family history, personal experiences? I know I shared how I thought that I was broke, but I was middle class, and we never got new cars, we never went out to eat. Does anybody have anything that they want to share about maybe some foundations of wealth that they're starting to think about, and why they think about money the way they do?
So I grew up on a horse farm, and part of that as a young man was there's a lot of work you're gonna do that you're not gonna get paid for.
Oh,
So-
that's good.
It,
Welcome to real estate.
you're right.
Oh my God.
It taught me that, there's plenty in life you can do that you won't be compensated for, but it still has to get done. So that part was great for the work
Yes.
ethic. The challenge though was we never had conversations around money either, right?
Ooh, that's good.
Grew up in a household where to talk about what somebody made was taboo. And that was nice to come to Keller Williams, and it's like, I can look up what you made, at least the bulk of
The
it.
gross,
you know? And, even to this day, you can sometimes ask somebody like, oh, how much you made doing that? And they're like, ah. So, one of the things I've learned from Dave Ramsey is he both of my parents never did much for investing other than like the retirement 401k kind of basics. But that's only like what I've learned from Marcus Green is saving yourself into a small box, and then you're gonna have to live the rest of your life in that box.
Yes.
Versus growing assets that are gonna grow.
Yeah.
And fold.
Yeah. I love that so much of what you said. And I also think I referenced a little bit how money was taboo and it just wasn't something you ever talked about, and
Yeah.
and now it's it's a conversation that's on the forefront. Like I just want to talk to everyone about money. Like, okay, what are you saving? Okay, so how much are you making in that business? What are you doing here? Like I just want to because I can learn, and it doesn't mean they're better or worse. I mean, there was a season where I was making 13 grand a year and I didn't care. I'm like, I'm making 13. What do you got? Like how can I learn from you? Like I didn't care. Like I could still function. My parents got me a lot of gas cards and frozen chicken, but like
Right.
it worked.
Yeah.
It worked.
Exactly. It just even my first job, my parents were like, okay, so you should set some money aside. I remember my first paycheck, I took me and a bunch of friends out to Outback. And it was only like $200 for 8 of us, so that tells you how long ago it was.
Yeah.
It's with our son being 3, I don't even think there's too early a time to have financial conversations with your kids.
I'm talking to my kids now. We their birthday came and I'm like, please, I don't want any more stuff. So we got a bunch of Target gift cards, which they think are credit cards. And so they asked, and so they go and work with my husband at his chiropractic office, and they make, it depends how many tasks they do, but they make either $2, $3, or $4 a day. If they crush it, they make $4 a day. And so Aliana goes, hey mom, when I go work for Pop, can you just put it on my card? And it's great because I don't ever have cash, so I
Yeah.
have a note on the fridge like +4, and then I just pay, and then I'm like, oh yeah, your card did it. It's hysterical, but you're talking about that. And then when we go to church, and I'm going to talk a lot about giving, it's okay, you guys made those dollars, you need to keep some dollars because when we go to church, you're going to be, bring your dollar. And it's like, how cool is this that we get to have these conversations right now? I love it. And I never had those conversations had with me. I just didn't. But I also think that was a generation. And I don't think that was abnormal. I think that was expected. And I'm excited for where we're going, and we're on the forefront of it. Thank you so much for sharing. And as we go through, please continue to share and, any thoughts or, things that come to your mind. So here's what we're going to go through today. I'm going to start with perspective and share a little bit about what people think about wealth, what people think about a millionaire, all of those things. Then we're going to talk about present. So I see some of you have computers, some of you don't. I want to tell you that I want, ideally, if you do have your computers, to pull up so that I can share when we get to here. We're going to actually run a net worth statement. So Bev, you already know how to do this, but I'm going to share my copy that I have that you guys can fill in. If you don't have this, it's fine. You can do math on your phone. I actually have a QR code. We'll figure that out when we get there. Plan. This is when we're going to develop a plan and how we're going to gain more wealth in our world, and then pursue. This is how we're going to actually take action on it. So the 4 P's sound like a plan? Good. Great. Okay. So under here, I think it says, let me see what it actually says. Change your thinking, change your world, probably. Yes. Change your thinking, change your world when it comes to perspective and wealth.
Amen.
So
if it helps, you can tag that bar to the top of the screen. If you hit that little up arrow, your screen sharing.
this
You
guy,
see that little arrow going up? I think, there you go.
share it.
I got you.
Okay, so there's another book on here that is called I Will Teach You to Be Rich. And I listened to the audiobook of this. And this is another really great book too, on top of these guys. Money is part of a rich life, but it's a small part of it. And I believe Marcus Green referenced this book as well. I think he probably referenced a couple of these. But when we think about a rich life, I want to start asking you the question, what does a rich life mean to you? What does wealth or a rich life mean to you? Who's thinking about this right now? What do you think wealth or a rich life means to you?
I like the definition, doing what you want, when you want, with who you want. I might have turned that around.
But it's good. It's good either way. Good. What else? I think for me, wealth talk is a lot about relationships. But financially speaking, it was during COVID when I was panicked, but then I was like, I'm okay, we're gonna, like, it was almost wealth in my mind and wealth in who I was surrounding myself with, that I was going to be okay no matter what happened. So it's almost like wealth in my ability, like confidence in my ability was my wealth at that point.
So being that you had a good sphere, like,
Honestly, that was a Keller Williams.
Yeah.
It's true. I knew that we were gonna figure it out. And I didn't want to be anywhere else. And that was wealth to me. And my husband, you know, the fact that he and I were in it together was huge too.
I would say, for me, it's passive income. So when I'm hanging out on the beach and something, making money, passive.
Yes.
That can do what you just said. Do whatever I want to do, whenever I want to do it, so passive income. I work with a coach that is a hard driver for income, and he says he wants $83,333 a month in passive income. I said, that's a strange number. He goes, add it up. You know, after 12 months, they go, lots of $1 billion a year in passive income. So that's his goal. He goes, you know, and thinking like that, that's big. He goes, well, think big. That's the other piece of wealth is how big can you think? You know,
Yes.
it's not even about the money. How big can you think?
I remember the first time I made $50,000, I was like, this is all I need in my life, you know, and I literally was content there and it was fine. And then it was, okay, well, think bigger. And then it's like, okay, 6 figures. And then you make 6 figures and you're like, oh, I can think
Your
bigger.
quarterly's 50,000.
Yeah, God, don't get me started. I still haven't made my quarterly payments. Follow me for more advice. No, I literally am gonna like send a picture to the IRS of like a newborn child
Oh,
and be like, here you go. Like, this is why. Could you cut me some slack, please? No, I talked to my accountant. He's like, I'll get a little bit of a fine, but it's fine.
mine's quite minimal too.
It's minimal.
For keeping all that money for another quarter.
Okay. So,
Starts like that.
what do you think, Chuck's like, Mandy, pay your quarterly? What do you guys, what's getting in the way of that? So like Bev, you're saying what's right now in the way of, and I'm not calling on you, I'm just saying example. What's in the way right now of your rich life?
I think it's clarity and focus.
No idea, clarity, just kind of like having your head wrapped around everything financially that's going on. That could be going in, kind of organized.
Yes.
the people I used to surround myself with would didn't have the ability to think big, so no one else talked big, and you start putting yourself, you know, unfortunately, in front of a Gary Keller, you're big, he starts talking about million, he talks billions. You're like, whoa. So something that really changed me is that I start finding other people out there that thought process.
So you're not, so you're, what's in the way right now is the people you're surrounding yourself with. Or
It
at
can be.
that time, right
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
you're in a better spot.
Just
but-
open up to more people, you know, you still, I think what really, you know, is when you start achieving different income streams and different levels, don't ever forget how you got there. Don't forget the people.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah.
Going back and revisiting with them and talk to them about, you know, where you're actually very curious, like how you did it.
But I
You know,
think that
there.
sometimes you need to leave those people behind for a second.
Yeah, yeah.
Because those are not the same people that are gonna get you to that next level, and not in a disrespectful way.
Yeah.
But I think I had a really hard time breaking free of the people that I surrounded myself with that were, I thought they were thinking big, but they weren't thinking big.
But then revisit them.
And then, and there's still relationships and you keep it, but you have to start being comfortable, getting uncomfortable with people that maybe aren't growing you.
Because you'll be surprised what they go on, just that no one ever.
You didn't pull it out of them.
They stayed in their world, you move through their world, then you come back into the world, then you
So-
can help them.
I think it's Russell Branson who, I read his book and it was about being the guide and how you have to first go on your own. You gotta hike up the mountain on your own so that when you get there, you can then be like, I know how to go. And then you can go back and then you walk them hand in hand over the bridge to get them there too. But you first have to go on your own.
Don't they say too, you're like the average of the 5 people you hang out with?
Yes, yes, you are
So you always-
100%.
You always want to be like the, not the dumbest, but the dumbest in the room. You know what I mean? You always want to be.
You're the average of the 5 people you hang out with in terms of the quality of your relationships, in terms of what's in your bank account, and in terms of like, so your wealth, not wealth, but what's in your bank account, but wealth, and then also in terms of what your net yearly income is. Pretty powerful. So when you think about how you classify yourself as wealthy, I think it's the next slide. The question is when you say, okay, well, this is what wealth looks like, how will you know when you get there? And then also, this was a big challenge that I had, will it ever be enough? And so I have this really good, so my story, I don't know how many of you know my story, but I got into real estate at 22, was all I cared about. So I was a Division I All-American, played in the World Cup for lacrosse, accolade after accolade after accolade. Then I graduated college and was like, who am I? What am I supposed to do with my life? Because now, so I was just chasing another accolade. And I started to feel that it wasn't that I needed to be successful, is that I was terrified of not being successful. I was terrified of being like, well, I have this reputation that I have to be the best at whatever I do. So I was terrified of failure. And so I wanted to just be the best at everything. And so at 22, I just worked and worked and worked and worked. And it got to the point where, like I said, my first year I made 13,000. Maybe it was like 18 minus something. It was not a lot, but I didn't care. Like, it was fun. I worked 100 hours a week at minimum. And I had met my husband at that time. So he was going to chiropractic college. So he lived an hour away. I saw him once a week and then I worked every other minute. And it was great. I became successful within my 3rd year. I think I was on track for about 6 to 7 million. I was looking down the barrel of that year and I was going to play again in the World Cup. So I was training 4 days a week, 3 hours a day. My younger sister was winning a national championship at UNC Chapel Hill. So I was trying to go to all of her games. My older sister was having a baby. Eddie's chiropractor, that he was going to buy a chiropractic practice. We backed out of that. So we bought a building for him to start his own chiropractic practice. We had to renovate the 1st floor and then we had to renovate the 2nd floor. So we had somewhere to live. World Cup was 21 days away and I had $6 to $7 million in buyers that I was trying to function for 21 days. I was 22, so I had no business concept. No, by that time I was 24. And so I was going to be gone. And because Eddie was starting his own practice, I was our only form of income. So thankfully Keller Williams was like, please come. And I was like, no, never, I'm never leaving the other company. And then I was like, please tell me what to do. And it was beautiful. And there's a long story to that. But I realized I needed to have some support and start a team. So I was in the midst of transferring to KW, figuring out what a team looks like. And then after the World Cup, my wedding was 2 weeks later. So I got home and I was working like crazy and I got home from our wedding and got back into real life and realized I hated it. I went from chaos to nothing. And I realized that this wasn't the life that I wanted to be living. I tried to divorce my husband after being married for 10 seconds, and I blamed it on everybody else besides me. And I started to say, why am I in real estate? This isn't what I want to be doing. This isn't how I want to spend my life. I was driving down Highland. My husband was driving, still my husband at the time, somehow. And I threw my phone out of the car on Highland. Someone texted me about an inspection release and I was done. I was done. Like, has anyone ever felt that? You literally, your phone's blowing up. I didn't even have any kids and I was losing my mind because I was just so overwhelmed. I was sick of it. I hadn't slept. I was stressed, but like I thought I loved it. But I wasn't spending time with friends. I wasn't connecting with anyone.
I think the irony there is you grew up mastering a team sport, but you're looking at going solo.
Mm-hmm. But I would say we were at the other company. I was at the other company and no one told me otherwise.
Well, sure.
No one told me there was another way.
Yep.
No one let me see that it was a business.
And
I didn't know.
It was still kind of a fresh idea.
Mhm.
To
I
the
was told if
region.
you want to start a team, so you need help at World Cup? Yes. Then you need to go find someone who's older and doesn't do a lot of business so you can have a different network, and then they're not successful, so they'll value working with you. And I was like, old crappy agents, let's go find some old crappy agents. And that model doesn't work, in case you were wondering. And that's when KW said, no, you want to find someone who's like you, so that when you can't show up, they can, and your clients still like you. And I'm like, well, how do I do that? They're like, well, here's a disc. And they didn't have a KPI. Did they? Yeah, they had a KPI then. ABA. They're like, here's how you run that. And I'm like, okay. And then, well, how do I know what to pay them? Well, here are the typical models. And I'm like, oh, well, what do I have them do? Here's a job description. Well, how do you know if I'm successful? Well, here's 15 other people that you can talk to that are doing it around the nation if you'd like to. I was like, oh. So the culmination of the breakdown happened when I got platinum. So back in the day, platinum is where you did 10 million. If you did 10 million in real estate, you got the top award in GRAR. So all I wanted to do was platinum. And it was like Holly and Mark and like all these amazing people that I was going to be up on stage with. I dreamed about it. I visualized it. It's all I wanted for 2 years. Psycho. Literally, I knew it was going to be at the DoubleTree. I knew what the stage looked like, everything. I knew what I was going to wear and all of it. I visualized it every single morning, every single night, and I did it. And I walked up on stage. I got the award, and I walked back down in my dress and my high heels. I sat down, and I was miserable.
Yeah.
Because you think that this is going to happen. You think that this goal that you've been fighting for is going to matter. When I look around, I hate who I had to become in order to do that. And so when I think about when will enough be enough, it was this realization that what I thought was enough wasn't actually enough. And so I'm going to read the story to you. It's, I think it shows it really well, even on a bigger scale. So the Vanguard founder, who passed away in 2019, once told a story about money that highlights something we don't think about enough. At a party given by a billionaire on Shelter Island, Kurt Van Gogh informs his pal, Joseph Heller, that their host, a hedge fund manager, had made more money in a single day than Heller had earned from his widely popular novel Catch-22 over its whole history. Heller responds, yes, but I have something he will never have. Enough. Enough. I was stunned by the simple eloquence of that word. Stunned for 2 reasons. First, because I have been given my own life. And second, because Joseph Heller couldn't have been more accurate. For a critical element in our society, including many of the wealthiest and most powerful among us, there seems to be no limit today on what enough entails. And it's so true that for me, I was living in this world where I didn't have a goalpost. It was just, I needed to be better. And then I needed to be better. Oh, and if someone sells more, I need to be better than them. And if someone sells more, I need to be better than them. And what are you chasing at that point? And so when I think about enough, I'm going to challenge you. And this isn't something, guys, that you're going to like know today. You're gonna be like, oh, I'm going to spend 3 minutes in journaling on it. You're going to learn through this. But my goal today is to get these like wheels started thinking about what does enough actually mean to you and how will you know when you get there. So what is a millionaire? This is what I was thinking. Okay. So emotionally, you can say, and this is from Everyday Millionaires. That's this book. This book I read in like 2 days. You guys will be able to read it too if you do want to read it. It's a super quick read. Anything Chris Hogan, super easy. Psychology of Money took me like years. Okay. What is a millionaire? So we can think about it from an emotional standpoint, right? Never having to worry about bills, expenses, emergencies, the future. Freedom to do what you want, what you want to do with your time. Freedom to choose how you work. You could classify that as making you a millionaire. But then there's an actual classification. And this is something that I love to do. Your net worth minus, so your net worth, mathematically, a millionaire is when your net worth equals $1 million. So how you calculate your net worth? Your assets, what you own. So everything from the equity in so everything with your house, your cars. You could even put your clothes in there if you wanted. Like, I remember people are like, oh, my clothes. They're like, well, how much was each of your shirts? Like, you probably make like 20 bucks off your shirts. And you probably have like 10, 20 shirts, you know, like if you think about that, that's probably a low number. But anyway, minus the debts, what you owe. So what do you owe on your mortgage? What do you owe on your car? All those things. And then what that equals to is your net worth. So you have the emotional side to it and the mathematical side to it, to what it means to be a millionaire. So we're going to finish up perspective here. one of the things I want to demystifying this, and this is the everyday millionaire. So what he did, Chris Hogan created this big study. He studied 10,000 millionaires. So random, just found 10,000 millionaires and did a study analyzing what they were like and how they operated. Hey, John. And so what the research found was that what we believe about millionaires versus what the reality is. So here's the example. Inheritance, 74% of millennials and 52% of baby boomers believe millionaires inherited all their wealth. When in reality, only 21% of millionaires received any inheritance at all. Only 16% inherited more than $100,000. And the vast majority, 79% of millionaires didn't get any inheritance at all. Why I'm demystifying these myths is because every single one of you is going to be a millionaire. And I want you to know that and believe that you can. You don't have, you're like, well, these millionaires, they all inherited their money.
You mean like when a loaf of bread costs $300, so we're all making $1 million just to get by?
Right, okay, maybe like due to inflation, we have to say 1.5 in there.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's inheritance. The second millionaire myth that I wanted to share with you guys is family history. The myth is that millionaires all came from these high class families, but the opposite actually proved to be true. The best inheritance is the work ethic and character that comes from the way your family was. It just stops. Tell me who wrote this, me. So here's the stat. 8 out of 10 millionaires came from below or middle class income families. And I don't know if any of you guys can relate to this, but so I'm definitely middle class. But when I thought that I was low class, like lower class, I think that is what created how I handle money, was because I never felt like I had it. I remember I worked at the Rochester Athletic Club, and there were people, they would get their paycheck and they're like, we're going to the mall. And I'm like, why are you going to the mall? Like, what are you doing? I'm like, we got paid today. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know we got paid today. It's great. Like, that wasn't something you did. And I think because I was a lacrosse player, I would make all my money in the summer. So during college, I would do all my trainings, all my coachings. I would coach, do like camps and clinics. I would make $2,000 over the course of the summer. And then that $2,000 lasted me the whole year if I wanted to buy pizza. And of course, my parents would try to give me money and I hated using their money. But I was built that way. I was built that my parents never did it. We didn't have the money to do it. And I think that's so true. What an inheritance that my parents gave me was that work ethic. Can anyone relate to that?
So it sounds like you were a great saver unintentionally.
Yeah.
Like it's not that you intentionally were like, hey, I'm gonna save a certain amount of money. I'm gonna measure my finances. You were like, my default is I'm just not gonna spend money.
Mm-hmm. But guess what also my default was? I was terrified to spend money.
Right.
which in my 30s, I started to have to like balance that out.
Yeah.
And that's the whole other side of wealth. And literally my mom bought Eddie and I'll tell you more about me and Eddie's story, it's hysterical, but she bought us the only thing, so when I got into real estate, me and my girlfriend, we lived on East and Alexander, go team. And I was in real estate, so I had no money. And I literally penny pinched, so I had $10,000 to get into real estate because that's what I had saved up for my first job. And I had that money and I budgeted that it would take me, like I wouldn't have to, I'd be able to live on my own, pay my car, do all the things. And it meant that me and my girlfriend didn't turn our rent on, our heat on the whole winter. The entire winter on East and Alexander.
Those
Thank
houses
you.
are sound, right?
They're the opposite of sound.
Yeah.
And like now that I know what like houses are like that was the worst thing ever. And now thank God we had we were part of a 3-row
Yes.
there. And so
Pipes
like I
were
think
great.
like the other houses, the other sections like kept the pipes from bursting. But my dad would walk into our apartment and we're like, hey Dad, and he's like, your bananas are brown. Your oil is frozen. And then Eddie would come over and he'd be furious that like the toothpaste was frozen. My mascara, I would have to like put it on in between my legs so that it would heat up before I would like go in the car. Like but it became like like we were pumped about it. Eddie would come in and my girlfriend and I would be wrapped in our blankets and our noses wouldn't be cold. And we're like, hey! And he's like, I turned it on. I turned the heat on. I can't live like this. But so like, that's how I lived, to the point where my parents would literally drop off frozen chicken and gas gift cards to be like, you need to eat. Like, are you eating? But I loved it. I was crazy. And they would also drop off, for our anniversary, they got us a gift card to go out to eat because we didn't go out to eat. What we would do, you know, Thali of India?
Yeah.
Mondays is all you can eat buffet. And so he and I would have a banana for breakfast, brown. And then we would do all you can eat Indian buffet to the point where we were going to vomit for like $9.99 each. So that we were so full that we never ate dinner. And we pretty much ate for like whatever $9.99 plus a banana is for an entire day. Brokers opens, pro tip, go at the end.
Yeah.
Eat all the food, and then they're like, oh, we have so many subs left over. I'm like, I can take it. And then that was my meal for the next week. And I was like, brokers open today, Ed. He's like, what are they serving? Like he knew that we would get all the leftovers. Like that's how crazy I was with money, which was fine. We had fun with it, but also real life, like it's not a long-term play.
Yeah. Well, the irony is you almost lived a stoic life, whether you had to or not.
Yeah.
You know?
And guys, I wasn't broke. Like I had money in my bank account,
Right.
but if I knew that if I used it up, I wouldn't be able to stay in real estate.
Well, and what's neat about that is when you started to earn, you know, and still live that way, how much faster you get to where you had to go.
So much more.
Plus, you're not afraid of going back to not having meat, are you?
No.
Good
Right.
meeting, see ya.
Peace. No, well, it's funny because then now I live and I'm like, Eddie, it's 7:01. Like I get mad when it's like a little children. Okay, the next one is high paying jobs. And this I think is so important. The top 3 careers of all of the Millionaire study: engineer, accountant, and teacher. You don't see like tech guru who made $1 million. Engineer, accountant, and teacher. The methodical ones. The ones that are paying attention. 1/3 of all millionaires studied never once had a 6-figure household income in a single working year. 1/3 of them. Only 31% of them averaged 100,000 household income a year. So that's household income. That means if there's a husband and wife, they're not making over 100,000. And only 7% averaged over 200,000 income over the course of their career. So people think, oh, you need to be making 500 grand in order to be a millionaire. No, you don't. So let's start today. And you can say, I want to make a lot of money this year. You can say that, but you could also be a millionaire in all the ways that everybody else did here, which was the slow and steady progress. Does that shock anybody? I thought it was really good. Because then you also, if anyone in here does have a household income over that, kind of gives you a little bit of a gut check to be like, wait a second.
Don't they say like the median or average is like 60,000 for household, like it's for both couple or whatever, 60,000 a year?
I think so. I don't know that, but I think that's what it
Pretty
was.
sure that's pretty nuts to think about too.
You don't have to have these high paying jobs in order to become a millionaire. Once I learned what a millionaire really was, it took a lot of the magic and mystery out of the word. At that point, millionaire became less of a dream and more of a goal. So as we wrap up the first on perspective, I hope that your perspective of what it means to be a millionaire, how you can become a millionaire, is a little bit different now, because I want you to see this as a goal. Anybody changing the way they're thinking about millionaire yet? Okay, good. All right, so now we're gonna see where we're at now. All right, so.
You know, the thing that really changed my perspective, I think it was the Millionaire Next Door book.
Yeah, so that's Chris Hogan's first one.
Oh, man.
Millionaire Next Door is the, is it Chris Hogan's or is it Dave Ramsey?
No, that's a different author altogether.
It was Big Hat, No Cattle.
Came out.
Ah, yes.
Big Cattle, No Hat.
Yes,
I got a lot of books to read.
That little scene right there is all I thought about.
Mhm.
Big Hat, No Cattle. I knew a lot of those big hats. And then
Oh my gosh. You know what? I think that's such a good point
that's
too,
what I grew
is,
up with, those big hats that had nothing.
you know what? I think something that I missed in that was comparison. In a perspective of what wealth looks like. So I drove my husband's car, but if I drove my car up today, it is a 2017 minivan with a ding on the side where I rocked a rock, like crushed this rock. It was a boulder, okay? And I've got 27 car seats in the back, 130,000 miles on it. Do you know how many compartments that thing has? It's the best. I just go boom, boom, all the doors open. I think I bought it for 26,000. It's the best freaking thing in the world. To the point my husband's like, you sure you don't want a new one? Like, I think he's almost embarrassed because I freaking love it. And I think that so many people, oh, fun fact, I don't even think I told you this. We're gonna open a laundromat.
There you go.
Mhm.
Smart.
So Eddie's, so do you know the old it's by TJ Fridays. It was the old Rockfish.
Mhm.
Now my husband and I bought it in 2020. His chiropractic office is in the front and we have 2,700 square feet in the back. And because we didn't ask our kids all of COVID, we needed a place for them to go and play. And so I created a play zone in the back where I invited all of my other friends who thought like me. And so we hung out, we ran around in there, but now like we don't need it anymore. So we're like, we should probably rent this space out. So I'm trying to rent it out. I don't know, like I mean, commercial real estate, it's not my thing. And so I'm not having any luck. And then with a 3-week-old on my baby, we foster. So I have a 1-month-old baby who is 6 weeks on Monday and he just went to daycare on Monday. Praise goes on the highest. And so at 3 weeks old with him on my chest and me not sleeping, my husband saw an Instagram reel about laundromats and how they're recession proof, how it's technology focused and something else. And oh, and how we don't have to have employees.
Yeah.
And he's like, let's do a laundromat. So I was like, of course we should do a laundromat. So anyway, we're starting to do a laundromat. Why did I think of this?
And you already have future employees in your house.
I
Great
know.
business
No,
for that
seriously,
point.
they can be attendants.
Yes.
Like, come on. So anyway, why was I saying this? Where was I going? Oh, I know. Back to the car. So anyway, there's this guy who's like gonna help us become a laundromat connoisseurs. And I roll up, he like has this nice car. And I roll up in like my mini with my like gouge on the side. I'm like, hey, and I get out and I'm wearing like God only knows what because I haven't slept. And he's like, he just didn't expect it, right? Like, and he probably still questions like if I have like the financial capabilities to do it. But it's like people judge you based on how you look, based on how you act, but you also judge other people on how they look and how they act. And if you actually look at their net worth statements, you may realize that the way they're showing up isn't actually their wealth. And I frankly love being under, like, I love when people are like, oh, she's probably, and I'm like, yeah, we're millionaires and I don't care. Like, great, wonderful.
So the Millionaire Next Door talks about how the reason why those 3 industries, teachers actually make up the largest group of people that become millionaires because there's no expectation on them to live in a larger house, to drive a nicer car, to wear the nicer clothes versus if you're an anesthesiologist, right?
Yeah.
What do you gotta show up to work every day?
And I
where do you
would
have to
challenge to say, I think realtors do the same, right? We have like this image that we have to be all fancy. And here's the thing, if I were still showing houses and representing clients, I probably would have a nicer car. Because there is a balance, right? There is a balance where you do need to show that you're successful because that's marketing, right? Like you don't want to show up in I wouldn't show up in my minivan with a couch on the side. Like I probably just wouldn't. But there's a middle ground. Like you talked about your Buick versus the Ford Future. Like your Buick's still a nice freaking
Oh, you
car.
want that call?
Yeah. You know, like,
Yeah.
but that's a perfect example.
And it's in mid shape. So
Why
it's
do you
like-
need it? Why do you need a car that like looks nice and you know you have it washed and that sort of stuff? But a minivan with a dime thing on the side might not be it. Oh, so we're gonna get into your present. Where are you at right now? I want to remind you, wealth building is a journey. When you do this net worth statement and it is negative, which there will be people with you that's negative. Mine was negative when I started. Welcome, welcome. You're beginning your journey. Today can be your first step if you let it, and you are not alone. I want you to hear these because when you start to look at this, you're probably gonna maybe question yourself a little bit. You're gonna be upset. You may blame your partner. Like, why are you buying all this stuff on Amazon? But I want you to just be real with it and to acknowledge this is where you're at and be ready for your future. So this is my QR code that is going to get you to my thingamabob, my Google Sheet. And I'm gonna pull up my Google Sheet quickly on here, just so I can I don't think I can. Is it working?
Yeah.
Did I do it right? Go me. Okay. Let's see if I can cast it.
So the trick is,
And can you like text it to yourself or something? Okay, so this is what it looks like. Sorry, you guys getting it?
That's really.
So then you can like text it to yourself or email the link to yourself or whatnot. I should have done a sign it before and had it all dropped into your inbox, but.
so if you click share and export, then you can say.
So here's what I want you to do. You go file, make a copy. And then you're gonna title that copy Jackie's net worth statement, Mandy's net worth statement. And then this is going to be something that will be something you look at, and you can take off renting. You don't have to make it yours. Do it the colors you want. Trying to cast, but it probably won't work. Oh, hi chat people. Is there any way you guys can see it? Is it working for you, chat people? Rich means free. Oh, thank you guys. Sorry I haven't been doing great with that. All right, does everybody have it in some capacity?
Yep.
Okay. I really should have had this up, but oh well. Did you make a copy? Okay, so here's how you start. Assets. You're gonna see the third tab over has assets on it. Everybody see it? So make this your, I don't think you can edit mine anyway, but I don't want you to like start filling in on mine. Make sure you're on your own copy. And you're going to go through how much cash you have on hand or how much cash you have tucked under your mattress. Wherever you have cash, what do you have in terms of cash? And right now, we're gonna move quickly, but this is something that like you girls hold each other accountable, you guys hold each other accountable, you guys hold each other accountable, you're gonna dig into more of this. But you're gonna do how much cash on hand, you're gonna go into your bank account and you're gonna say, what do I have in my checking account? What do I have in my savings account or any other accounts? If you have a tax account, you can decide how you want to handle it. So, right, you have a savings account that has taxes in it. If it's like, if right before your quarterlies that you pay, but your tax, like sometimes you have to in your mind think that that tax money doesn't exist, right? Like if you have a general idea that that's what it is. So as realtors and as entrepreneurs, you can handle your tax account however you want. I leave it all in there. And then I just have like notes when I do my net worth statements. Because I just never know what my taxes are going to be. We have 3 businesses, so we write off a lot throughout it. Then you go over to assets. This is where you put in your house and what do you think it's worth? Well, I don't know. Do I be conservative? However you want to live your life. Do you want to say that it's worth, $400,000 or do you want to say it's worth $350,000? You decide. Then you'll look into any cars you have, a motorcycle, a boat, an ATV, a golf cart. What else do I have random things of? Engagement rings, jewelry. You can do your clothes if you want. Anything that you could look inside of your house and sell. You could do TVs. Anything that is an asset, feel free to add in there to feel great about yourself. This is you can do it many ways, but I suggest do it what it would sell for. What it would sell for in the open market. Not what you bought your new TV for, but what it would sell for. On Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist or eBay. Okay. Then down in the lower left, you'll see, so we're on the third tab, assets. Lower left, investments. So this is where you may have certain investments, such as houses. I don't know, I don't really put anything in this one, I don't think. Retirement accounts, there's like your 401k. So what do you have in there? What do you have in certain stocks? Maybe investments would be stocks, maybe I put that there. You can really put investment properties, I think, either on assets or investments, whichever one you want. It will not matter, it will create like a pie chart for you to show where you hold all of your assets. Okay? You guys want a second to go through it, or do you want me to keep moving? Okay. So then the next tab is debts. This is where you're going to, on when it's, I'm sure you guys can have your own, but you have your consumer finance, medical bills, mortgage, car finance. So this is where under your consumer finance, what do you have in credit card debt? Medical bills, these are just examples. Mortgage, what do you owe? And now if you ever do need mortgage, I have a lot of mortgages. If you ever do need to add more like cells, you can drop those down. And then car finance, what do you owe on your cars? And then take a second and think what you're forgetting. What are you paying someone? What do you owe to someone? And I typically say if it's $1,000 or less, I'm probably not messing with it. If it's a car thing, yes, but if it's like, I don't really owe people much because I have a problem with that. But, you know, if someone were to owe somebody like $200, I probably wouldn't write it in there. But it's up to you, however you want to do it. So guys, that's it. Now, once you've put it all in, you click on over to overview. And naturally, what will pop up is my net worth. So the second tab over is overview. And you are going to see your net worth. Anyone have any takeaways from their net worth and looking at it? Or maybe Bev, when you first did it, what did you think? I know you've done this before.
Because I think for me, since we have real estate, I was happy
You were in a good spot
when I
because
saw that.
it counts for
the
something when you
equity
feel like
that
it
we
hasn't
have.
done a thing for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I felt that way too. I'm like, my businesses aren't doing a thing. And all of a sudden 10 years in, I was like, oh, like all of our real estate that we own. So anything else? Anybody, or are you guys still working on it? Any other thoughts on when you looking at it or maybe putting this all down? Anything you're seeing?
I think it was like a lot less scary than I thought it was going to
Oh,
be.
thank
Yeah.
you.
Like,
Right?
I think it is something that I would incorporate like every month and just like, or every quarter or whatever, like just to keep yourself on track, because I think when you can see the change too, so you can like track your progress.
Yes.
That's, you know, very motivating.
So the fifth tab over is called progress. And this is where every single month, I maybe miss a couple months, but I started this when Eddie and I decided to not get divorced. So probably when I was like 25, 26, we started it and I was negative. And I'm going to talk about debt payoff too, because that's the next story for you. But it sucked. Like you just don't see it. But then it also, the first year that I made $60,000 and I realized that like it made an impact, I was like, oh, this stuff works. Because again, I wasn't spending anything. You start to see it grow. And it's not just, oh, I made 60,000, I have nothing to show for it. I didn't have anything to show for it from like an external standpoint, but I was so good on my numbers that I had something to show for it. And I didn't mean I need to buy a new car. It didn't mean I need to show it to anyone else. I had to show for it because of this calculation. So the debt payoff. And then so what I do like on the notes section is, so every month and I'll write like, hey, we added a deck at our cottage. So that was another 10,000 that like, if, you know, when we're not dramatically changing month by month, we did that. we were gifted this, we had to pay taxes. So I'll go through each month what, just adding those notes in there. Because it's cool when like I look back now and see like I didn't have this spreadsheet back then, but I have an Excel spreadsheet that I made for myself. And I'm just like, you go, old self. Like you go, like I was so in tune with everything that I want you 5 years down the road to remember today's self when you started this and be really proud of her for him. So what else? Anybody else have anything good to share about, I guess I did.
So I just started committing to profit first.
Oh, yes, you were saying that.
And so after 7 years in the business, I finally have separate bank accounts for the business.
Good.
Instead of all one. And I have a budget now for the business and my personal life instead of just going, oh,
Is it there?
my balance looks great to me. What do
Yeah.
I need to buy? And it's tough when you look back and it's like, wow, I've had a lot of income go through my fingertips. I'm not in a big fancy house. I'm not driving a fancy car. So where the hell it all went?
And
It's
frankly,
anybody's
more
guess.
income than probably most people in Rochester have had go through their fingertips. And it's like, shoot,
Yeah.
it's a missed opportunity, right?
Even my second year in the business before real estate, Jen and I together, I don't think made 60. And then the second year I made like 130. And where the excess went, I think I ate a lot of it, to be honest. I'm
Yes.
oriented.
No, and people say wealth is not determined by your 401k choices. It's determined at Wegmans. It's determined when you're eating out. It's determined by where you drive your car,
Yeah.
right? Like that's how those everyday decisions are how you're determining your wealth. So you're right.
Yeah. And for the first time, my business has actual profit set aside instead of just money.
So I have business account, tax account, Mandy and Eddie account. Like that's like
Yeah.
our personal account. And I think it's so important to be, now I set myself up on a salary.
Yeah.
Through my accountant. Well, my accountant told me to do it. So I pay myself a salary out of the business.
Sure.
And then taxes are taken out that way. But like I said, we're.
And that's our goal is to, so we have our owner profit account, which is 50% of whatever you bring in, or at least that's what the book recommended. So we're
Okay.
gonna start with that. 30% for operations, which is way high for real estate. Like if you're spending 30%, it better be coming back to you in a return. And then 5% for owner or for profit of the business, and then the rest for taxes. So the idea is letting the operations grow and grow as a savings account until you can put yourself on a salary. And you probably need at least 3 or 4 months of that saving up before you can make that switch. Because I was always like, what do you mean put myself on a salary? This month I made 30 grand, and the next 2 months I'm not gonna make anything.
Yeah.
So how the hell am I supposed to do that?
So
So
you said you put yourself on a salary. So for your investments and things that like if you like starting the laundromat, things like that, do you take out of your salary to invest back in that, or the money that you're still having running into your business to invest back in that?
So we also own a daycare.
Okay.
And my husband's a chiropractor. So I want to say we have a great way to do it, but I just take everybody's money.
Okay. Okay. I honestly I didn't know if you had a system that you were.
I probably did early on.
Yeah.
But I have 3 to 6 months of savings that I can pay. I can't pay the whole daycare, but I can at least keep the salaried employees on my team and most of the chiropractors for 3 to 6 months. So I have that's saved. It's called my don't touch savings account. And I get a call every single year saying it's inactive. And I'm like, that's the point, so we keep that running. So I have that. And then that's kind of, it doesn't necessarily support my real estate team with all of the expenses for 6 months, because if I'm to the point where we're doing that, we're probably cutting Zillow and we're cutting all these like other expenses. But I have that. And then other than that, I just steal for those investments.
Okay, cool.
Do you do all of this like by yourself?
My husband and I got.
And your businesses are supposed to pay for themselves and be
Well, so we
profitable on
own the
top of
real
it.
estate that we operate the chiropractic office and then the future laundromat. Oh, you wanna know the name of it? Made New. So we love Jesus. And so it's like you're made new with Jesus, but then also you're made new when you bring your laundry into ours. And you know, I'm gonna have like Jesus coats everywhere. But we own the daycares, there's 2 buildings, so we own those. And so then we are building equity within those buildings
You
too.
can have baptism Tuesdays.
I know. Here we go, splash some water. I don't know, we're just doing fun.
Dunk them in the washer.
Dug them in the, yeah. We got a top loader, here we go, side loaders, you're using.
You got those misters like at Wegmans, they're just like mounted across the ceiling, so people are like, what is this? Holy water.
I just realized how weird I am, like day in and day out, like I'm really weird. Okay, so what does your current financial picture look like? These are questions you're asking yourself. And then another thing I wanna say, do you feel wealthy? And something we haven't hit on that I wanna make sure you're hearing from me is, and Anthony said it at the mastermind too, is you can be a solo agent doing 2 to 3 mil, making, I don't know what that equivalent is,
40 grand.
making 40 grand and going hiking on a Tuesday morning and do like having great relationships. Like, I don't want you to think you have to become a millionaire. That's not what the message is. This is whatever you want to be, don't think you can't reach it. But I want to be clear on wealth. What a lot of the times, especially realtors, is we get this money, we don't know what to do with it, we're not conscious of it, it goes, we go, and then we get to the end of our real estate career and we have nothing to show for it. So do you feel wealthy? No matter what your financial picture looks like, you might say, I do feel wealthy. And that's awesome. The goal is to become wealthier and wealthier and say, hey, actually, what's actually making me feel wealthy is these relationships that I've really been digging into. Like right now, we joke like our team's probably not gonna hit 60 mil this year, and that's our goal. But like, I freaking love our team. We party, we laugh, Jack said my team doesn't furniture. Like we have so much fun that I feel so wealthy within our team because I don't want to be miserable in order to hit 60 mil. I care, we're having a great time, we're enjoying each other. We just, Abby just had her baby, Allie is having another baby, and it's just, that's what wealth looks like in certain areas. So I want you to make sure you're hearing. That is what wealth. And then also what needs to happen to get you closer to your goal? Maybe it's like Jared's talking about, maybe you have to budget. Maybe you have to say, okay, eating out's a problem. Maybe you start to say, okay, maybe I can't do Instacart. I want you to know, after COVID, I had to go shopping. I will never do that again. I have used Instacart every shop for almost 2.5 years now,
That's
maybe
literally
3
the
years.
top thing on my mind right now, like I want someone to tell me like, is this so good? Like, cause
Instacart changes my life. I went shopping. It was like I was walking down aisles and I was like, what's happening? And then I had to carry my stuff into my house. I was like, Eddie, I need to talk to you about something. We're spending a lot of money on Instacart, but I can't do it. I just can't.
Have
Like,
you done the math of like how much you're actually?
I don't want to. I don't
But I
want
want
to.
you to, cause I wanna.
It's a lot of money. It's
Yeah,
a
but
lot
I
of
think
money.
you save money too.
But
But think about it. I don't have 3 hours to go
And you're not
shopping.
grabbing
Yeah.
everything.
You
were
so much
purposeful
time.
when you buy.
Mm-hmm. And I go, and so, but of course I buy myself flowers every time. I'm like, oh, Eddie, did you get your wife these flowers? And he goes, no, she buys those for herself. But I probably am more
And the
purposeful.
Instacart person picks them up?
Yeah.
Well, you're creating a job too, right?
I'm giving back to the economy.
Yes.
No, but here's what I'm saying. Do I feel wealth? Like, am I able to do that? Yes, but guess what I don't do? I don't drink coffee. I've never drank coffee in my entire life. Do you have any idea how much money I've saved? Like, I go out and I drink water. Like, I don't even drink sparkling waters. Like, I just drink water. And so I'm saving money in so many different ways. I don't really buy new clothes. Like, I think these are Target and this is probably TJ Maxx. Like, I don't buy nice things. I don't need those things. So it's like, there's certain things where I'm willing to pay for my time, but I'm also really cheap in so many ways. My husband, guys, okay, so he's a chiropractor. Don't judge him for this. Maybe judge him for this. Every single day he wears the same clothes so that he has so that he doesn't have to think about what he wears. So it's like the Steve Jobs thing, right? So he wears Nike golf pants and a blue shirt that got embroidered to say UCC Rock, Upper Cervical Chiropractic Rochester. So every day he wears these. And so I get to the point, I'm like, bud, like the knees are really getting worn out on your Nike golf pants. And so he has about like 4 to 5 pairs because it's all he wears. And he goes, oh, you're right. I'm like, do you like need them? He goes, no. I got a bunch more. And I'm like, what happened? He goes, I went on eBay and I found used Nike, they're $90.
Sure.
He bought used Nike golf pants for $45 each instead of $90 each. And he bought 5 of them. So I'm getting these like eBays, they're used, guys. They're used pants. You would have thought this guy just struck gold. Like, guys, he does well. He does well. He sees 450 patients.
Can I
Like,
say something real
he
quick?
does well. Carry
I
on.
went to AmVets. I called you actually, and I went there because I needed new jeans. Because I'm usually spending like $60 on a pair of jeans,
Yes.
and I literally found 2 pairs of jeans,
Come
perfect
on.
condition for $6.
Come on.
And I was like, the
And I
best
think
day
I'm
of my
being
life.
generous that he paid 45. He may have only paid 20, but I'm like, Ed, like these aren't like, this isn't like, oh, a night out. Like, this is what you wear all day, every day. Like, we can buy you good pants. Like, you're just fine. But the joy he gets out of knowing that he's pulling on used pants that he saved half off on is hysterical. So like, I do Instacart and I'm super purposeful about my money, but we also do weird things like that where we buy used, and we're really proud of it. Like, I was like, I love you a lot right now. I was so proud of him.
So the one thing I find of the people I've met in life that I would probably chalk up to being legit wealthy, is that they have tons of clarity around what makes them happy, and they're willing to go all in on that and spend whatever it takes, and everything else they're like, nah, no thanks. You know, like, I hate to pick on him because he's not here. Harlan Furbush did a really solid book of business last year. By himself with part-time admin, he pays really well.
And he goes on motorcycle rides. He's ridden with my husband.
Yep, rides bikes all over the country. Every year does this Iron Butt challenge of like, I don't know, thousands of miles in a day. And to him, like, he's like, you know what, I'd love to do the ALC, but the day I'm sitting there and it's nice out and I'd rather be riding my bike, I'm gonna hate myself. And he knows that about himself.
Yeah.
So to that extent, just knowing what makes you happy and being able to say yes to that and just no to everything else. That if, what's your yes? Like, you're probably gonna say to people because I've known you long enough. Like, what do you splurge on, blow your money on, go in excess on?
Vacations
Yes.
and time and stress. So I was just telling Megan, I have a night nanny.
Yeah.
Little excessive. It's my 5th kid, but he's up every 2 hours. Bless him.
Yeah.
I'm not nursing. So I was about to lose my SHIT last night after he just wouldn't go to sleep. I've rocked him. He was good. He was asleep. And I sleep train my kids, but he's 6 weeks, so we're just not there yet.
Yeah.
And so I put him down and then he goes, and he wakes up and I'm like, oh. I'm like, oh, you guys understand.
You talk with the devil those first couple of
Oh, it's a challenge. And so I'm paying a night nanny.
Yeah.
She showed up at 9. I went to sleep at 9:01 and I woke up to my alarm at 7 a.m. this morning. Heaven. And my other girls woke up. She takes care of them. She does the bottles. She does the laundry. She sweeps the floor. Like, she does all of these things and I wake up to it. And it's a splurge. It's excessive. It's extra. And my husband knows that I become more of a sane person and he's like, I'll pay for
There's a
that.
return on that though. Just the same that.
Because I can be here today. I
Yeah.
wouldn't, if I didn't have that, I wouldn't have ever agreed to this class. Because I knew I wouldn't have been able to sleep, but I knew I had a night nanny before it, so I could.
So Jen has been home with our son since he was born. And we talk about that frequently because she feels like she should be out working. Not that she wants to, but it's like, it's a money thing. And I'm like, well, for the money that we put back into daycare,
I
it's
own
not a
daycare.
break
It's
even, we'd
expensive.
still be up on the dollar, but your son's getting the experience of having you, and we send him to Doodle Bugs 2 days a week now,
Oh,
and
good.
that's really
See,
affordable.
whereas I can't keep home. I mean, I homeschool, but they're in
Well,
co-ops 3 days.
Right, and so the point being though, I'm like, it's all a give and take.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so you go work in exchange for him having a very different experience. You know, what's that experience worth to us? And we only see it as like a 5-year, time horizon anyway. It's like,
Exactly.
we'll be in kindergarten.
And wealth to her is staying home with him.
Right.
Like, that's wealth. And the fact that you guys together are creating that opportunity for her,
Yeah.
that's it. So what needs to happen for you to get closer to your goal and what's in the way? And these are goofy things that you could say, not going to Target. You could say, not like, I only do Target pickup now. because when I go in, I'm like, I need this athleisure outfit, I need this, and I just love challenging myself in those kind of ways. Okay, so that's where I, so anyone take a quick break? I think pizza's coming soon, or you want to just keep cranking? All right, leave when you need to. All right, plan. Okay, so now we're getting into what we're doing with this. All right, right. Past a certain level of income, what you need is just what sits below your ego. One of the most powerful ways to increase your savings isn't to raise your income, it's to raise your humility. People with enduring personal finance success tend to have a propensity to not give a damn what others think about them. Morgan Housel, The Psychology of Money. And of course, we've talked about this, but we start to say, what do we need to do next? So we clarify our goals. We need to start to look inward. We need to start connecting with your partner, talking to someone else in your world about your net worth. Show them this calculation. Start to say, hey, here's what we made last month, and this is what how our net worth grew. Talk to a financial advisor. Fun fact, I don't have a financial advisor. We do have investments, but I've done so much into real estate. I just feel like when we do, we're going to do like a van, and I Will Think You to Be Rich talks a lot about this, but just how like, I'm not trying to like win the market. I just want to invest. And so we're going to do an index fund through Vanguard, and we're just going to invest. I'm not going to have a financial advisor help me with that. So that might be a challenge to what you guys are thinking. Or a trusted friend to identify what matters to you. Also, therapy helped with this too. When I started to go, I love my therapist, and I haven't gone in a bit, but helps you really start to get to the bottom of what's important to you and some things that are causing you stress and why they're causing you stress, to be able to realize where it's your ego and where it's these kind of like stealth expectations that you have for someone like you and how you should be living. Learn. So this is where I have these books that I'm recommending, but also any podcast. Literally just look up financial literacy or look up, personal and professional development in finance. Learn, listen, read, attend seminars around challenging or growth areas to help you learn more about your finances. Identify your challenges. So get real with areas that are inhibiting you from reaching your goals. And again, I've thrown out like eating out, I've thrown out clothes, I've thrown out nicer cars. Like you just start to really say like, what matters to me and what's keeping me from getting there, but also balance it with wealth. Balance it with being like, I actually do need a fall wardrobe. Like I actually do need something new. So then there's share. I want you to start to feel comfortable talking about your finances. Doesn't have to be with me, doesn't have to be with somebody in this room, but just start speaking out loud your current financial picture and where you want to go. Me and my husband's goal is to give $1 million in a year. And that's going to be a crazy goal. And we're excited as we've been working toward that. And I'm going to talk more about giving, but say it out loud, speak it out loud, set those intentions for finance. And it has nothing to do with you being successful and everyone knowing how wealthy you are. It has to do with your idea of wealth. So getting real with your expenses. So I love this idea of one of the biggest challenges that people have is your expenses grow fast at a faster rate than your income. So the story goes somewhere in one of these books, they talk about how there's this guy who gets a $5,000 bonus or $5,000 raise throughout the course of the year. I don't know these numbers, but let's say that that is the equivalent to $500 a month. Okay, I don't know the numbers. It's not, but a little bit less, $450 a month. So to celebrate his $5,000 raise, he goes out and buys a new car. And guess what his car payment is? $600 a month. And so in fact, his raise just made him $100 a month less wealthy. And so when you start to think about the biggest challenges, you start to make more money and you continue to increase your expenses, you're never going to get wealthier. Do you know where all of your money is going and do you have a budget? So total money makeover, I think actually that's my next slide. Bring it all to the light. I am just such a believer that you just need to not have anything in the darkness. You need to talk to someone about it. You need to bring it up. Thank you. So that you're not hiding anything. There's no need to hide anything. Bring it all up. Okay. So Dave Ramsey's 7 baby steps. Is anyone familiar with the 7 baby steps?
We had the Andre and
Melissa.
they did
Mhm.
the
Yes.
Dave Ramsey class here.
Yes.
Several years ago.
Yeah, so, okay, so Dave Ramsey's baby steps. Now, here's what this means. There's a lot of people that listen to Dave Ramsey, and the key is he's like, get out of debt, and they're starting from nothing. So Dave Ramsey is so great for foundational understanding. Then there comes a point where you have like Grant Cardone, who's like, finance everything, grow by 10, like go. And like you have Grant and you have Dave, and I'm like in the middle. Like, I want you to be smart about your debt. Like, we have tons of debt, but my interest rates are like 3 or 4 versus what I can profit from them. So I'm somewhere in the middle, but I think for today's purposes, I want to just make sure you're aware of them. So here's what you do. If you're to the point where you're like maybe negative net worth, or you're just trying to figure out what to do, here's the steps that he recommends. First, build up 100,000 emergency. Build up $1,000 emergency fund. It's quite the emergency fund. Build up $1,000 emergency fund, or whatever your comfortable number is, and start there. If you have that, then you start saying, okay, I'm good. If something happens, I've got a decent amount. For me, my emergency fund is my, what's it called? Copay. So I have like the emergency low deductible plan. And so my emergency fund, I think it's like 6,500, and then I can pay up to 12,000. So like when I gave birth, I was like, oh, I gotta make sure I have like 12,500 in my emergency fund, just in case for whatever happens. So whatever you want your emergency fund to be that. He says $1,000. Then pay off all debts, and we're going to talk about paying off all debts. So the second step is accept the house, get rid of all your credit cards, get rid of all the medical expenses. The third, and this is where I got my 3 to 6 months of expenses, save 3 to 6 months of expenses for a fully funded emergency fund. So this was like your baby emergency fund, and then this is your actual emergency fund. So you want to know what this makes you do? Go through all of your expenses and actually realize what you're spending each month, in which meant you realize you should probably take some things out. Then invest 15% of your household income into retirement. That's what he recommends. Save for your child's college funds, pay your home off early, build wealth, and give. So these are his baby steps. Now, please note, you're doing your 15% into retirement before you're saving for your child's funds. Note that. A lot of people switch that around. I don't even want my kids to go to college. I still contribute. This is a smart financial decision. Yes.
What did you study?
I studied, what did I study? Leadership, which is funny. So I went to the University of Richmond, and I did leadership studies, was my major, and I minored in business and Spanish. I don't know how to speak Spanish. Don't tell my husband. I tell him I can speak Spanish. Okay, so debt payoff plan. You ready for my fun story? Okay, so I got a full scholarship to go to college. I am crazy about money, so I never had any expenses. I didn't even know how credit cards worked. And so then I meet my husband, who is going to chiropractic college and has $150,000 in student debt. And I'm like, oh, this is the pits. And so I'm so excited, but we want to get this paid down. So I am making, at that point, I'm probably making 6 figures, dying, working 100 hours a week. And no, I'm better than, probably closer to 60 or 70. And so I'm making this money and I'm supporting him. Because there came a point where you're like, we're doing this thing. Like, we're going to get married. Yep. Why are you putting money on your credit card, you know? And so I'm paying for everything. I'm paying for the rent. I'm paying for the groceries. I'm paying for all this. And then he starts to open his chiropractic office. And I said, okay. He goes, I want to pay this debt down. I'm like, I want you to pay this debt down too. What should we do? We committed that every penny he made from his chiropractic office was going to go straight to his loans. We were going to continue to live the way we were living, which was Mandy saving, and we never traveled anywhere. We didn't take a day off. We were psycho. But I was making good money. We were fine. And I said, let's just everything we did. And so I think the first year he made like 30 grand and we put every penny toward it. And then the second year he was like picking up. And so we made a commitment where we did $4,000 every single month. Here's what I did. Because he's Canadian, his mom and dad co-signed for it in Canada. So it was in Canadian dollars. So the only way I could pay it off, like there wasn't like a bank account I could pay it off, was I had to write checks. Eddie and I wrote a $4,000 check dated January 1, 2014, $4,000 signed. February 1, 2019, whatever it was, signed it. And I handed her an envelope that had 12 $4,000 checks in it that she deposited every single month. If that makes you want to throw up, it made me throw up. But there was 1 month where I said, I need another week. I need another week. And it challenged us in a huge way. But I think Jared was referencing it. We didn't change how we were living once we became a dual income family. So it didn't, and then it was to the point where then he started making money and we're like, well, what do we do with it? And that's when our giving took off. Because we're like, we don't need that money. Like we've been living without it, we're fine. And so people are crazy. So there's different ways you can do your debt payoff plan. Dave Ramsey's philosophy is the debt snowball. You start with the smallest debt first. You don't even look at interest rates. You just look at which one's the smallest. Some people do highest interest rates. Hey, I've got these 5 different ones. I want to pay off the one that has the highest interest rate first.
Knowing what you know now about investing, did you guys choose to pay that debt off because you were more comfortable with it being paid off, or you felt that?
Because people are crazy. We're trying to pay our mortgage off too.
Okay,
We don't like it.
sure.
But the other motivation was his parents were co-signers on it.
Yeah, right.
And we just didn't like that feeling. And then he has another brother who his parents need to co-sign for another loan for them. So we just didn't want to take that burden off.
With your personal stuff aside then, knowing what you know now, would you have gotten to where you are faster had you left that debt alone, paid the minimums, and just invested instead?
Because it changed the way I thought about money.
Okay, it made your.
It made me not care.
Yeah,
It made me not care. I wrote, when you write those $4,000 checks, you're like, what is money?
yeah.
Just
right.
get it paid off. So it was a powerful thing to realize how much we were actually in control.
Yeah.
Like we can control what we do with the money. So I think it did so much from a psychological level, but then also from like a relationship level when I think we paid it off in 3 years, 3.5 years or something. We were so dang proud of ourselves.
And you guys went through that together
Mhm.
versus not.
And then Eddie felt like empowered, like he paid it all off, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, I was helping and all of that, but that's why he says he'd live in a ditch because he wouldn't have done any of that.
Yeah.
Higher interest rate. Oh, do whatever makes you feel the most comfortable when your head hits the pillow at night. So this is the example of why people pay off their mortgage. Now you could say my mortgage is a 3.75 or something like that. And people are like, why are you paying down your house? We have not yet because we've been buying buildings. So that's where my money goes. But we want to. And people are like, well, it doesn't make sense. I'm like, I don't freaking care what makes sense.
Right.
Like he says, Morgan Housel goes, the land under my feet feels differently when no one could ever take it away from me. And I love that. So people are crazy. Do what makes you feel right. Wealth is a journey. It is your journey. Make a plan and stick with it. Allocation perspective. So we're talking a little bit about investing. Invest in what you know. So allocation means where are you investing? So when you look at your net worth and you look to see where all of your money is, the reason we're starting this laundromat is because I have too much freaking cash and I don't know what to do with it. If you're holding cash right now, it's the stupidest thing you could possibly be doing because every single day it's becoming less and less valuable. Buy anything. We bought gold.
Yeah.
It might be stupid. I have no idea, but nothing can be stupider than cash right now. Like at least let me fail at it. Like I just don't want to be hanging out with cash. So invest in what you know, like Irene was just talking about, invest in real estate. That's investing in real estate. Like buy residential real estate. Now, you can hold, you can flip, you can Airbnb. I'm team hold all the way. Now, I don't have any residential real estate. Abby has it, my sister, and what her plan is to buy one every single year and to be able to not necessarily put them on a 15 to 20 year mortgage, but to make it so that she's still making money if she puts them on a 15 to 20 year mortgage. That's how she runs it. So she doesn't need a specific cap rate. She's not looking like, need to be this crazy investor. She's like, I'm going to do this in the long haul. And the 3 that I think she already has already increased in equity dramatically. So that's another way to do it. You literally just have a goal to buy one a year. Now she hasn't done the thing like the Burr method. I think Marcus talked about it. She hasn't done where you like take the equity out of one so that she doesn't have to have cash to go to the next one. She's literally just saving up 20 to 30 grand to put down to buy $100,000 to $200,000 investment property. And then she has Mike Slusser do property management for her and she doesn't do a thing. She builds in property management because one time her first investment property, someone kept calling her about the fact that her strawberries were frozen in the fridge. And she got really nervous and like went over there and then realized that this one, like, she's like, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to talk to anyone about the frozen strawberries. Like, Mike, take it over. So she built that in.
So if anybody wants to learn the Burr method, I'd recommend reaching out to Danielle Johnson. she has utilized that at a high level, and the idea there is she partnered with somebody that was gonna back the purchase and the rehab on a property. She found the property on market, purchased it, so they were asking 130, she gets it for 100. They put 50 grand in renovations in, and the property appraises for 180. So all in, the property's cash in was 150. She's able to refinance it, get all that 150 out. The property's assessed at 180, so she still has $30,000 value on the property, and she.
His 150 to do whatever she wants.
Well, she pays back the investor, and
Oh, right, she pays back the investor 100.
right, plus the renovation costs. So
Got it,
there's no
got it.
cash in the property, and she's cash flowing, say, 300 a month from now owning the property.
Yep.
Cool.
And in that first one, you know, it's already gone up 20 grand in equity over a year.
That's a rental property, Jared?
Yeah,
Is it? Okay.
so the biggest challenge, so what's convenient about what Abby does is when you have the cash yourself, it's not so much about making the best deal of the best deal. It's more about, can I purchase this property and will it cash flow? As long
And
as
when
the cash
she's running
flows
her
are-
expenses throughout the entire year,
Right.
she has in her mind, I'm doing 20 to 30,000, like I need to save that up in
Yes.
order to, in order to make that investment.
Right, and then once she does that a couple years in a row, she could start to stop putting her own cash in it. and start
Exactly.
Using it to,
Exactly. And then the plan is so she started when she was 28.
Yeah.
And so with the goal being, say maybe she starts paying the first one off in 20 years or something, by the time she's 48, that first one's gonna be paid off.
yeah,
49, she's gonna have 2 paid off. And then maybe she's gonna start doing the debt snowball where she pays a bunch off. And so then by the time she's 50-ish, whatever, 50 something, she's going to have 10 properties that are probably cash flowing $1,000. That is 100 grand that's gonna be passive income. That could be her retirement.
that's-
So that's Abby's plan.
What did you call it? Was it the burr?
BRR, buy,
Buy,
renovate.
renovate, rent out, and then refinance.
So what I'm saying is allocation perspectives, think about real estate. Again, you can do investments, in terms of,
Just a friend that she.
investment property, or I'm sorry, in terms of, stock market. The thing with the stock market is you need to play the long game. I can't remember what book I read about that, something about sacred cows, maybe. But, you just need to play the long game. Don't get into it thinking you're gonna have this great rate of return tomorrow, but put it in, never freaking touch it. People say the most returns they ever got when they analyzed accounts were people who didn't even know they had an account. Those are the people with the best rate of return. Giving, okay, so there's another book that I don't have here, it's called Giving It All Away. And this is where I feel that Eddie and I's perspective on money changed. I'm gonna preach for a second, but when I talk about what I feel is the right move, like I don't believe any of this money's mine. I believe it's God's money that he's given to us, and we need to be good shepherds of this money. So when we're giving it back either to the church or to GoFundMe accounts or to my girlfriends who need help trying to start a bit, like whatever it takes, I love giving. It's the best thing that I can do because it has this abundance mindset. Like when I give, I just like, I don't need it back. I can go make more. And so how I think about it is, one, it's not our money. And how can I make sure that I'm being good shepherds of this money? And it's not so that I get more, but it's because I'm not attached to it. I'm not attached to what I have in my bank account. And it changes your connection that you have to money. And you disconnect from the harvest. It doesn't matter what you're getting back. So it's giving it all away by something Green. What's the guy's Green?
Marcus Green?
David Green.
Oh, David Green.
Sometimes I call Marcus David
Yeah,
and I get confused. But it's David Green who owns Hobby Lobby, and Hobby Lobby gives 50% of all of their profits away. It's ridiculous. It's a fantastic story. So live like no one else now. Later you can give like no one else. And I just love that. Because I feel like giving is important. Eddie and I started where we gave 10% to the church. And I calculated every single month when I did my net worth statement, what we made. And if I made like $5,000, if I made like $5,023, I would write a check for $502.30. Like I was crazy about it. And now we just have like a recurring giving that we do. But then I also have a giving plan where we do certain things that we give every single month. And I have January, February, March, and we have our giving goal that I work towards, and I keep track of it every single year. So we no longer have, Eddie and I don't have income goals, we have giving goals. And then that's obviously correlates. So there's different ways to stay motivated.
You give off your net or your gross?
I used to give off my net.
Yeah.
And now we give well over 10% because it's
Sure.
and it's just so cool. It's so cool because you just stop thinking like, who cares? Money's not important. Like money's not as important as we think it is. So set your criteria, set your giving amount, set the fire of generosity spirit. It's amazing. Christmas is like the best time to do this. I love that Christmas is at the end of the year because when I haven't hit my goal, I literally am walking around being like, who can I give a grand to? Who can I give a grand to? And it's the coolest thing. I literally, people, I find like Amazon wish lists and I just power through it. And it's like, it's not money. It's not mine. It's not my money. Let's power it out. And we give tons, like the Spot in Canandaigua, it's a school that they have like their Amazon wish list, and she takes pictures and we fill their porch almost every year. And I don't want it to be, nobody really knows it's me. Sometimes she'll tag me because she doesn't know, but like a lot of places we give, they have no idea it's me. And I don't even care. It really sets the fire of generosity spirit, and it's fun to do at Christmas time. And then you're going to want to do it all year round. So we're playing the long game. Okay, I shared about playing the long game, and this is the last piece. Compounding works best when you can give a plan years or decades to grow. This is true not only for savings, but careers and relationships. Endurance is key, and when you consider our tendency to change who we are over time, balance at every point in your life becomes a strategy to avoid future regret and encourage endurance. Tell me if not like the best, whatever. There's a lot to it. I want to unpack one thing, which is careers and relationships and staying in it the long game. I love, you guys have been, some of you guys have been in business for a bit, but like when people like, you just got so successful so fast. And I'm like, I've been doing this for 5 years, morning, noon, and night. It's all I do. And people think it happened overnight when it took me so long. So endurance is key in careers. Endurance is key in relationships. I shared what my husband and I went through briefly, but like we are now to this point where we're seeing it in relationships and how important it is to just stick it out and endure. And then balance at every point in your life becomes a strategy that we really want to balance. I don't want you to go out and be like, I'm never spending another penny again, because it's like dieting. Like you're not going to be like, oh, I'm just going to go on this diet and everything's going to be better tomorrow. Like you have to have a life plan in that change. So make sure you're balancing with it. So solidify your goalpost. The idea of having enough might look like conservatism, leaving opportunity and potential on the table. I don't think that's right. Enough is realizing that the opposite, an insatiable appetite for more, will push you to the point of regret. So this is me thinking that I needed to sell more, I needed to sell more, I needed to sell more. And now I'm saying, we want to sell more. We sure do, but I'm not willing to have it come at the cost of culture. I'm not willing to have it come at the cost of relationships. Here's one that I have to tell you about. So one of the challenges I had is, when's enough enough? Okay, I need to make 100 grand, but I kind of like want to try for more. Like I want to make more money. And so I love this idea of the second goalpost. Because we're hungry and we want to pursue. If you're a realtor, you love these challenges. And this is where my laundromat is coming in. Because I want to be doing more. It's where the daycare came in. Like I don't need the daycare, but I felt like God told us to buy it. And so we bought it, and it's like the coolest thing. And we get to make an impact for so many people. But when I think about the daycare, I'm never willing to risk my first goalposts. I'm never willing to risk my real estate team. I'm never willing to real estate the chiropractic office, and I'm never willing to risk my lifestyle and what I can do with my kids and my family. But I can still go and open a daycare. I'm doing it as extra. I'm doing it as fun challenges. You want to do investment properties? Go ahead and do them, but make sure you're not risking that first goalpost if you've reached that enough point. And I joke it's fun. Maybe your extra is you want to make more money so you can do investments. Maybe you want to go on vacations more. Maybe you want that to be that new business. In the laundromat thing, like there's another laundromat that opened in Henrietta. And I've got this guy who's like analyzing the demographics. I'm like, I'm going to open it. Like, I appreciate, but like, you tell me I shouldn't open a laundromat. I'm going to open a laundromat. And he's like, okay, because like, I don't care if I fail. If we fail, we fail. Like we're trying it. We feel like this is what we should do. And I'm excited about doing something different, but it's not going to impact my first goalpost.
You're not wagering something you can't afford to lose. Yeah.
Preach. So that's second goalpost. And then we do the consistent check-ins. So I love at least 2 times a year actually going through everything. But you definitely can go through, what have you learned this past month? Does your heart still align with your goals? So this is what I never did. When I was pushing and pushing and pushing, I realized that I never stopped to think, I'm not enjoying this. Like if you made me do not do Instacart, like after a month, I'd be like, no, I can't do that. I can't live like this. And I know it's extra. I'm not saying it's not, but it's important to me. And if not, if you need something, what skill are you missing? So, hey, I need to understand how to do a profit and loss statement better. Great. Go find stuff on YouTube. Go find a podcast on it. What accountability are you missing and what shifts need to be made? So here's the 4. Perspective, we talked about mindset. Present, where you are now. Plan, making a plan in pursuit of making it happen. And I think that's it. All right, thank you guys. All right, takeaways.
That was great.
Good. What is something that you guys want to implement right away? I'm gonna have pizza.
The fire that you have,
Yeah.
you're like on a roll. Like I love it.
Bro,
And that kind
I'm
of, like,
so tired.
But like the excitement, it makes me excited. You know?
Good, good. What else?
We're in control of our destiny.
Mm-hmm.
Once we plan something, we have to execute. If we don't, then how do we expect progress?
Exactly.
That's the toughest part in everything. I feel like even when you start real estate, like you can have this big plan and like, oh, I know exactly what I want to make GCI and break it all down, but actually executing and like calling people, that's the bitch.
And that's where the economic model comes in to be able to break down to say, in order for me to profit this,
Yeah,
I need to have this GCI, but in order for me to close this many deals, I have to go back up to leads
right.
contacts. It's like, oh, it all comes together.
Yeah, it does.
So I was really frugal in my 20s and worked a ton, and I feel like now I slipped off on my frugality,
Mm-hmm.
and I know I want to do more investing. So I think I'm going to try to really analyze my expenses and cut back and do the next thing. I'm jealous of the laundromat. I have not wanted to own a laundromat since I
No
worked
way.
at a bank in 1990 to 92. I worked at the bank in Spencerport,
Okay.
and I'd see the guy next. If anybody's familiar with Spencerport, the family next. There was a they owned the grocery store too. Whatever the grocery store was in the plaza back behind what's now Key Bank. He would come in with all this cash from his laundromat, and he was the cutest guy,
Oh.
single. Everyone thought he was the hottest thing, and I was like, that's what the business I want. And so as a landlord, I've got 2 houses with laundry machines, and my daughter gets to go. She has to help me empty the laundry
That's so
machines,
good.
and all the money goes into her savings account, which her college fund draws from. So we try to,
So
I'm
good.
making her
That's total
do
goals.
that, and so teaching her about money. And my husband just gave her, on a side note, just I'm not spin off on that, just like 2 months ago, he said she could have $1,000 to invest in whatever stock she wanted. And of course, some stocks are not doing that well, but still, in the
It's a good
long run,
lesson.
yeah, and in the
You're
long
gonna have some
run,
downturns.
so she did pick Disney, so she's got that going, and he really wants her to like look at it regularly, but knowing that it doesn't matter that it dips and all this stuff.
Mhm.
And we, I show her college fund when it comes in.
Yes.
So Mandy,
Yes.
I'm older. I don't know how to connect this one.
I think, do you know where you're at now? Did you get like your net worth statement right now?
Well, I know I'm not a millionaire,
You-
but I know that I act like one.
Not yet.
Oh, so that's good.
Like I spent a lot of money on food.
Welcome. Welcome.
And I also do Instacart because of the time. And also because it keeps me from seeing things that I want.
So here's the thing, when it comes to immediate, so you're saying, hey, listen, I can't think about this for the next 50 years, but I think you can think about it from a year in, year out standpoint, month in, month out standpoint, to start to really say, okay, what's actually coming in? And then what expenses do I have? Now, here's the thing with Instacart. I am not doing Instacart because I don't have, what the key is when you're paying money in order to save your time, you have to make sure that time that you're saving, you're doing something valuable with. People say they don't have time and they've watched every Netflix series. They know what's happening with everything on ABC and they're like, I just don't have the time. I'm like, I don't even know, like, I don't watch the news. Like, I know nothing. I do not watch TV and I don't have time for it. But I don't want to. So what I'm saying is it's not like I'm like sitting around doing nothing. And here's the thing. Sometimes sitting around doing nothing is valuable. I'm not saying that. Like sometimes you need to sit around to do nothing and it's called refueling. And that's fair. But we all know that there's a point that it's not. Like scrolling through Facebook is good until it's not. Like I know when I'm like, oh gosh, spent a little too long on that. So if you're fine replacing that time as long as the time you're saving, you're making sure it's actually refueling you and it's worth that. And you're aware, I just spent an extra $50 in order to save 3 hours.
That's the leverage aspect of everything, right?
Exactly.
I feel like it's interesting because first of all, Keller Williams has been out, and nobody paid me to say this, but KW is the only place that I've ever been. And this type of conversation is so refreshing. And I don't know how, other places that are doing this or not.
You walk in and you're like, wait, you've never talked about this before? Because you start to get used to it.
Yeah, and honestly, I sat down with Chuck, my husband and I were looking to buy a flip, and I sat down with Chuck, this was just a few weeks ago, to ask him a couple questions about crafting my offer, because I knew we were gonna be competing to buy this property. And it was so, I'm so much more accomplished in that short conversation with him, because there were other moving pieces to what we have going on in our lives with investments and whatnot. And I walked out of there feeling like I could crush the world. You know what I mean? And I ran home and I told my husband, who was also an agent, by the way, I'm leveraging him so I can do more. Right? So we just started on that path. And we've just had kind of like this snowball effect of, I'm 50, so it's not like I have all the time in the world, and I feel like right now all of these things are sort of.
But you're also just getting started.
Exactly, and that's how
How cool is
that's how
that?
I feel. Like I don't feel, past the point or anything like that. But just being here, and I guess it is about thinking big, right? Like when I think about all of like the little colorisms that sort of shrink down and condense these great ideas so that you can digest it and get your arms around it. And that's really what it is. It's putting yourself in a place where you can be exposed, and eventually when you're ready to receive those messages, you'll decide what to do with the information.
Exactly.
But, it's just, I feel like we have so much available to us. To me, it's almost like pinpointing, like, God, we were actually just talking about it this morning before I even came here. It's like, we're talking about a rental that we have that wasn't even supposed to be a rental, it was our former house, just all these different things, like, are we gonna pay it down, are we gonna sell it, are we gonna keep renting it, like, what are we
In
gonna
fact,
do?
you're having those conversations. So Eddie and I lay
Yeah.
down all of our real estate that we owned, and we want to start creating a payoff plan. And I literally have to sit there and be like, this one's worth this, this one's worth this. Okay, I don't want to pay our commercial buildings off, but I want to get them under like 10. I want to have at least 10% equity in them or 20% equity in them. And so I'm like trying to have the ones where I like totally over leveraged, like, you can get an appraisal super high. I totally over leveraged. I'm like, we got to start there. Just create a plan and you talk about it.
Yeah, it's been really enlightening, and I appreciate your energy and your focus, and
Of course.
this whole breakdown's been great.
Good. Well, if anybody has any other thoughts or wants to share, I put my email here. I really don't check it that often. You can try to reach me, but like, I'm not.
really just sent some
Okay, perfect.
Maybe
I'll try.
text it to you.
I'll try my best. But I'm about 300 emails behind because I've been off for 5 weeks, but it's just a black hole. But otherwise, Facebook Messenger me, find me, my cell phone is somewhere.
Can we get the slides?
Oh,
I
yeah.
took one picture, but.
Mm-hmm. I'd love to. I'll download and share those for you guys. Who wants that? Does everybody want the slides? I'll just find all your emails. Or what I'll
I
do
would
is
write
I'll,
it up a little bit. Well, we can write it right now.
write those down, I'll email you with the slides. Oh, chat. Oh gosh, chat people, I forgot about you. Beechwood Laundromat is closed business that could definitely use a new owner. Okay. Oh, thank you guys. Oh, Philippe, I'm so happy to hear that. Oh, that's good. No debt. Thank you guys for tuning in on there. All right. Any questions or anything you guys want to share before we head out? I'll be hanging out here for a little bit too. All right. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You know.
Same, brother.
I have a funny story on how my parents thought. So my mom, instead of teaching us about credit
Bye,
cards,
Virginia.